You feel like you are trying, you are making an effort, you are doing everything exactly the way people told you to, yet life still does not move in the direction you want. This is not rare. Most people go through a phase where they feel like they are running on a treadmill, only to realize that no matter how exhausted they are, they remain in the same place. This stuckness does not come from a lack of willpower or discipline. It comes from something much deeper. Your life does not respond to your goals. It responds to the version of yourself you are living as every day. This sounds simple, but it is the blind spot most people never see. When you feel stuck, it is not because your dreams are too far away. It is because you are still operating from an old identity you have unknowingly been merged with for too long. This identity is not your true essence. It is only the result of old habits, old reflexes, old ways of thinking, and the strategies you once learned to survive difficult stages of your life. It is a version that helped you get through many things. But what once kept you safe is not always what helps you open the life you truly want to live. Feeling stuck is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that your old identity has expired. No matter how hard you try, if you are still acting from the limitations of that old version, the field can only reflect those same limitations back to you. But you cannot use the mindset of someone who's afraid to step into the life of someone who already believes. You cannot use the habits of someone who doubts to unlock the experience of someone who is ready. And you cannot create a new future if the way you see yourself is still tied to what you have endured in the past. The reason you feel stuck is because you are relying on a source code that no longer works for the life you want. You want a new beginning, but the old identity is pulling you back into familiar patterns. This is not your fault. No one taught you that most of your behaviors come from unconscious programs formed long ago. These programs do not ask whether you want to keep them. They simply continue to run because they are familiar, and the familiar always has a strong gravitational pull. But you did not come here to be limited by what is familiar. Feeling stuck appears at the moment you have outgrown the version you are living as. This is the moment when there is a gap between your true capability and the way you see yourself. That gap creates heaviness, exhaustion, and a loss of direction. But if you look closely, you will see it is not a tragedy. It is a signal, a very important one. When your life no longer fits you, it begins to feel tight. This is the way the field whispers to you that you are ready to step into another layer of reality. But the truth is, most people do not recognize this. They think what they need is more motivation, more strategy, more habits. But what they actually need is a shift in identity, a choice to stop acting from the old version. To understand this, you only need to look at your own experience. There are times when you have a clear goal, you know exactly what you want, you even know what you need to do. Yet, you still hesitate, you still delay, you still cannot take a decisive step. This does not come from laziness, it comes from the conflict between two versions of you. The version trying to move forward and the version trying to keep you safe through old fears. What makes you stuck is not a lack of ability. It is the lack of alignment between who you are becoming and the version you are still using to make decisions. In other words, you are trying to step into a new future with the signal of your past. When your identity is old, the signal you send out is also old. And the field can only respond to that same signal. But the moment you shift the way you see yourself, everything begins to change naturally. No forcing, no excessive effort. When you act from a new identity, the frequency you emit changes. The response of the world around you changes with it. And what you once thought was stuck turns out to be only the transition between two versions. This reveals an important truth. You do not need to force yourself to become a better version. You only need to stop operating from the version that is no longer aligned with you. You will notice that the moment you release the old identity, a new space opens. A feeling of lightness, clarity, spaciousness. a sense of vision that you could never create through logic alone, because clarity does not come from thinking, it comes from the position you are standing in within your own consciousness. When you stand in the right position, you see the direction, you see what you missed, you see that you were never truly stuck, you were only standing in the wrong version, and this can change in an instant. Not in the moment you try harder, but in the moment you decide to no longer live from the old limits. This is the true nature of a shift, not a miracle, not a dramatic leap, but a very quiet, very clear decision. I am no longer the old me. When this decision arises from within with genuine truth, everything around you begins to change. You no longer feel stuck. You begin to feel the direction, and from here, your journey into a new timeline begins. Quantum entanglement may sound like a distant concept reserved for laboratories and people wearing thick glasses working with particles smaller than your thoughts. But in real life, you touch it every day without knowing its name. You do not need to understand quantum mechanics to see how clearly it appears in your own life. You only need to look deeply into the moments when you know for sure you are stepping into a different version of yourself. Between you and the version you are trying to become, there is not a distance. Between those two versions, there is only frequency. And frequency does not operate by the logic of space or time, it operates by coherence. When the frequency matches, the two versions merge. When they do not match, they separate, no matter how hard you try. Entanglement is simply the connection that exists in a state of coherence. When you are coherent with a version of yourself, you synchronize with it. When you synchronize with it, life begins to respond in the way of that version. But you cannot touch the version with a better life when you are still living from a version filled with self-doubt. The field does not look at your desires. The field looks at the actual frequency you emit in every smallest action. This is what makes quantum entanglement extremely practical. You do not need formulas. You only need to observe the signals you are transmitting. Which version are you entangled with? The version that is afraid, or the version that believes? The version that avoids, or the version that steps forward? The version that reacts from old pain, or the version that decides from new clarity? The truth is, you cannot detach yourself from any version. All of them exist in the field, but you only activate a version when you synchronize with its energy. If within you the signal of doubt is present, you will always synchronize with the version familiar with failure. If you carry the signal of lack, you will continuously interact with timelines where scarcity is normal. But when you change the signal you are sending, the connection immediately shifts. You entangle with the version you want, not the one you unconsciously repeat. This is not as complicated as people think. You can imagine it like a radio. A radio cannot hear a different station when it is still tuned to the old frequency. It cannot say it wants to hear a new channel while refusing to turn the dial. It can only hear what it matches. Humans are the same. You cannot hear the life meant for your new version if the frequency you emit is still the frequency of the old one. This leads to an important truth, important enough that when you understand it, life becomes much easier to breathe. You do not need to fight your past. You do not need to erase your old mistakes. You do not need to become an entirely different person in one day. You only need to let your signal change. And your signal changes when you change the way you choose to respond to yourself. Every action you take is a frequency choice. The way you speak to yourself is a frequency choice. The way you face a problem is a frequency choice. The way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you decide are also frequency choices. This is why entanglement is not a beautiful philosophy to listen to for inspiration, but a practical operating mechanism. You entangle with a version of yourself through the way you live each minute. A small decision can shift your alignment instantly. A moment when you choose honesty instead of pretending to be strong. A moment when you choose courage instead of avoidance. A moment when you choose action instead of overthinking. Each moment like this shifts you onto a different line of connection, and because the field always responds to the current frequency, not the future desire, change arrives faster than you expect. This is why there are days when one small decision suddenly makes everything clear. This is why there are mornings when you wake up and feel as if you have stepped out of a version that held you for too long. Entanglement works at such a subtle level that you may not notice, but you can feel it. You can feel when you begin to match the version you want to become. You can feel when you leave the old version behind. Change does not come from thunder, it comes from a tiny shift in the way you perceive life, from a slower breath, from a sharper awareness, from a decision no longer influenced by old fear. And these small things are what make entanglement practical to the point of being almost simple. You do not need rituals. You do not need techniques. You only need to choose something different. In the moment you choose differently, you step into a different frequency. In the moment you step into a different frequency, you entangle with a different version. And from there, life begins to rearrange around you according to that new frequency. If you feel this right now, if you sense that some part of this is awakening, something you have known inside for a long time, leave the number 1 inch the comments for me. Not for the sake of doing it, but to send a clear signal to the field that you are ready to enter a new frequency. One simple choice, one simple signal, one simple moment. Yet sometimes the simplest things are the ones that change the entire direction of your life. Identity lag is not a common concept, but it is one of the strongest mechanisms explaining why you have changed, but life still has not responded the way you expect. When you step into a new version of yourself, the inner shift happens very fast. Your awareness moves first. Your perception expands first. Your vision becomes clear first. But other parts of you, especially the body, emotions, reflexes, and habits, need more time to catch up with this new version. The gap between your new awareness and your old system creates the strange feeling you often mistake as going in the wrong direction. The truth is, you are not going in the wrong direction. You are simply experiencing identity lag. You can see this clearly in the moments when, without a doubt that you no longer want to live the old way, yet you unconsciously repeat old behaviors. You do not want to worry like before, but your body still reacts with a familiar tension. You do not want to procrastinate, but your hand still opens the phone and gets pulled into unnecessary things. You deserve new experiences, but the old voice inside still says you are not enough. This repetition is not because you are weak. It is a sign that you have stepped into a new layer of reality, but the old operational system is still running on inertia. Every old version leaves echoes behind. Those echoes do not disappear just because you have the intention to change. The body needs time to recalibrate. The emotions need time to settle. The nervous system needs time to believe that you are truly safe in the new version. During this period, you may feel like you are moving backward even though you are advancing very quickly. Identity lag creates an inner illusion. You feel like you are returning to old patterns while you are actually standing at the threshold of transformation. This is why the process of becoming always has 2 parallel states. One part of you feels the expansion and lightness of a new future. Another part feels the invisible pull of old reflexes. This is not a battle between 2 timelines. It is simply the final meeting between you and the version you are about to leave behind. You cannot step into a new identity without passing through this stage. This is the mechanism of true transformation. It is like updating an operating system. Your awareness is the device that has already been upgraded, but inside there are still background apps running from the old version. They need to be turned off gradually. They need time to reload correctly. When you understand this, you will no longer blame yourself for moments of slipping. You will no longer think you are not strong enough. You will no longer judge yourself by the appearance of old reflexes. You will know this is simply the natural part of the process. Identity lag is not a sign of failure. Identity lag is a sign that you are at the exact point of transition when you begin to feel you no longer resonate with old habits, no longer enjoy old conversations, no longer want to tolerate old ways of being treated. That is not chaos, but the arrival of new coherence. But because the body and the nervous system are used to surviving rather than truly living, they will pull you back to the old rhythm to protect you. Not because you do not deserve a better life, but because the body believes the familiar is always safer than the new. Every deep transformation must pass through this resistance. That is why you feel like you take one step forward but get pulled half a step back. That is why you have days full of inspiration, followed by moments of unexplained disorientation. That is why you feel you have changed so much, but the things around you have not yet had time to reflect it. The field does not operate based on your temporary feelings. The field operates based on consistent signal. During identity lag, your signal fluctuates. Sometimes clear, sometimes confused, sometimes very new, sometimes returning to the old shape. And you mistake this fluctuation as a sign that you are not ready, while the truth is this fluctuation is the beginning of a new stability. When you move homes, everything becomes messy before it finds the right place. Consciousness is the same. When you shift timelines, old parts will shake before they dissolve. No deep change happens without creating some temporary chaos. Identity lag is simply the transition between two vibrational altitudes. It is the echo of the old version before it fades into the stillness of the new one. What matters is that you do not confuse this temporary disorder with the truth about yourself. You must not use an old reflex to conclude that you are still the old person. You must not let the discomfort of the body convince you that you have gone the wrong way. The body is simply relearning you. The emotions are relearning you. The nervous system is relearning you. The moment you intend to become the new version, the process has already begun. Identity lag does not stop you from moving forward. It only reminds you that you are shedding an old layer. No need to rush, no need to force. You only need to continue standing in the signal of the new version. Each day you choose one small action from that identity. Each day you allow yourself to take one very light but true step. And through these small things, the frequency gap gradually closes. The inner resistance weakens. The new coherence grows stronger until one day you realize you no longer need to try to live as the new version. You simply live, and your reflexes naturally follow. At that point, identity lag ends. You are no longer standing between two versions. You have become one, and life cannot do anything but respond to the truth you are now emitting. Real change does not happen in grand moments. It happens in micro moments, so small that if you are not aware, you will miss them. People often think that to step into a new timeline, they need a big ritual, a strong decision, a powerful mental push that breaks a part of their old life. But in reality, the field does not operate through explosive moments. The field operates through signals that are very small, very subtle, very consistent. Micro jump is exactly that kind of signal. It is the moment you shift frequency in the middle of an ordinary action. No big declaration, no long plan, no need to create an entirely new version of yourself. You only need a very small deviation, but one that goes in the right direction. A micro jump happens at the moment you notice an old pattern is about to take over. When you are about to react in the familiar way, when you are about to let fear decide for you, when you are about to repeat a choice that once kept you stuck. In that moment, you pause for one brief second, just enough to see what is happening and change direction. Changing direction in one small action shifts the frequency you are emitting. This is the mechanism that makes microjump powerful to the point of being almost invisible yet strong enough to alter your entire trajectory. A microjump is not about trying to become someone. It is about no longer acting as the old version. Instead of reacting, you choose to respond. Instead of avoiding, you choose to face. Instead of procrastinating, you choose the smallest action at the right moment. Micro jump does not require you to be stronger. It only requires you to be more honest with yourself. You can see this clearly in very everyday situations. When you are about to give an excuse to avoid an opportunity, you can pause and admit to yourself that the excuse comes from fear, not from truth. The moment you recognize that, the frequency changes. When you are about to speak in a tone that diminishes yourself, as you often do, you can soften your voice and speak a little slower so the frequency rises naturally. When you are feeling tense and on the verge of reacting the way you used to, you can take a slow breath and choose another way to face the moment. These small things do not feel like timeline jumps in a movie. But in the field, they are the actual jump. The field does not register you through grand decisions or strong declarations. The field registers through frequency shifts in the small actions you repeat every day. Each small action from the new version is like a command sent into the field. Each time you choose differently, you overwrite the old signal. You reinforce the pathway into the new timeline you want to enter. This is why micro jump is stronger than any technique you have tried. You do not need to imagine something far away. You only need to become the new self in one small moment. When you do that repeatedly, those small moments connect and form an entirely new trajectory. You do not just change perception, you change the direction of your entire inner system. Microjump is also powerful because it is not pulled backward by identity lag the way big changes are. Large shifts often make the body and nervous system feel threatened. When threatened, they pull you back to the old rhythm. But microjump does not. It is small enough that the body does not fight it. It is light enough that the nervous system allows it, but it is precise enough for the field to receive the signal. When you change the right thing at the right moment, even if it is small, the field still responds. You can feel this on days when you make just one small change, like replying to a message with a calmer tone, making a clearer decision, holding yourself back from falling into an old reaction loop, letting an emotion move through you instead of resisting it. These things do not make you a new person instantly, but they make the new version more real, bit by bit. And when you become more real, the field begins to rearrange everything around you. There are moments when you do not know why a small door opens, or why someone changes the way they treat you, or why a perfectly aligned opportunity appears at the exact right time. These things do not come from luck. They come from the micro jumps you made earlier. You changed your frequency first, then life changed in response. This is the law of the field. You do not need to make a huge leap to change your life. You only need to make one very small but decisive jump, and repeat that small jump many times. Each micro jump is a pivot point. Each pivot point shifts the trajectory, and when the trajectory shifts, your life has no choice but to shift with it. What matters most is realizing that microjump does not require you to be perfect. It only requires you to be aware enough to notice when the old identity is trying to return. And when you notice, you can choose a different response, a small response, a correct response, a response precise enough to move you into a new frequency. That is the real doorway into the timeline you are seeking. Not a breakthrough, not a giant leap, but a subtle, profound shift in a small moment that no one else sees, but the field always hears clearly. What no one tells you about stepping into a new timeline is that the change does not end at the moment you shift. That moment is only the beginning. When you change frequency, life does not instantly transform into the version you imagined. It enters a much subtler phase, a phase that, if you do not understand, you will easily think you did something wrong. This is the rebalancing phase. After a timeline jump, your signal has changed, but your inner environment and your outer environment have not caught up yet. Your new frequency needs time to shape itself, time to be recognized, and time to become stronger than the old signal. During this phase, life is not exactly calm. It is slightly noisy, slightly strange, slightly blurry. People call this the interference zone between the old and the new frequency. When you jump timelines, the old one does not disappear immediately. It produces something like an echo. That echo is old emotions showing up unexpectedly, even though, you have grown past them. It is a negative thought rising suddenly, even though you believed you erased it. It is self-doubt appearing on an ordinary morning. This is not a sign that you have fallen back into the old version. It is simply the residue of energy preparing to exit your system. The field always pushes out what no longer matches you. But that pushing out can sometimes make you feel like you are going backward rather than forward. When you understand this, you will no longer judge yourself as a failure just because you have a day where you feel lost. The feeling of being lost after a timeline jump is not a signal of wrong direction. It is a signal that you have moved out of the familiar zone. This unfamiliarity creates a gap, and the gap is always more frightening than the stuckness. Humans tend to cling to what is familiar, even when it hurts. But a timeline jump makes it impossible for you to return. And because you cannot return, you must learn to stand in the newness without having clear evidence yet. This is the hardest stage of any transformation. You are the new person, but life has not fully synchronized. People around you may sense something different in you, but not clearly enough to respond differently. New opportunities are moving towards you, but still rearranging themselves to align correctly. You are standing in a sky where everything is quiet, not because it is empty, but because life is rebuilding the pathways. During this stage, you will notice something interesting. Relationships that once matched you begin to feel distant, not because you reject them, but because your frequency no longer resonates with how they operate. Some conversations become harder to continue. Some old habits no longer give you the sense of safety they once did. Some environments that used to feel familiar suddenly feel heavy. This is not loneliness. This is the formation of new coherence. When you change frequency, what no longer matches will naturally slip out of your field of awareness, not through conflict, but through energetic mismatch. In this phase, there is a phenomenon that appears often and scares many people. It is the final test of the old identity. The old identity will try to pull you back with very familiar signals. It puts in your mind the phrases you have heard too many times. You are still not enough. You are delusional. You are going too far. You are trying too hard. It throws at you the emotions you once believed were part of who you are. But you must understand one thing. This is not truth. This is the last reflex before the old identity dissolves completely. When your new frequency becomes stronger, the old identity no longer has energy to anchor itself. It must leave. And the process of leaving always creates a sense of resistance. This is the stage where you need something more important than anything else. Consistency, not perfection, not rigid discipline, just small but steady consistency in the way you choose to show up each day. When you continue to act from the new version, even when emotions are unstable, even when nothing is clear, even when no one understands you, you strengthen a signal that the field cannot misread. The field does not respond to temporary excitement. The field responds to consistency. Each time you choose to react from the new version, even in a very small way, even when no one sees it, you strengthen your signal. You send out the message that you have truly left the old timeline. No need to prove anything, no need to force anything, only keep stabilizing the signal, and then one day without warning you will notice something. Everything begins to click. Life becomes clearer. New opportunities touch you at the right moment. Encounters carrying the right frequency appear naturally. People respond to you with a new sense of respect. Things that once shook you no longer affect you the same way. This is not a miracle. This is the natural consequence of a stabilized signal. When your frequency stabilizes, the field must respond accordingly. This is when you truly realize you are in the new timeline without needing to look back to see when you left the old one. Everything happens quietly but precisely. If you are feeling this phase, if you are seeing small signs in your life showing that your frequency has shifted, gently tap the like button as an act of acknowledging that you are stepping into a new coherence, not to support a video, but to confirm to yourself that you are truly shifting. One small action sends a clear signal, and you will feel the change the moment that signal leaves you. Living in the new timeline is not a state you reach once and keep forever. It is a continuous choice in every moment you show up to life. When you have stepped into your new version, the field begins to rearrange everything around you. But if you are not steady within yourself, you can easily be pulled back into old patterns, not because you are weak, but because your old version has been leading the way for a long time. It knows how to talk to you, it knows how to make you doubt, it knows how to use familiar emotions to pull you back into the old safe zone. To live firmly in the new timeline, you need a different approach, not fighting, not trying to prove yourself, not pretending to be strong or perfect. You only need to become consistent with the signal you have chosen. The new timeline does not require you to be better, it requires you to be more true. What pulls you back into the old timeline is not a big mistake, but the moments when you allow yourself to fall into old reflexes without noticing. So the first thing to live firmly in the new timeline is recognizing the micro moment when the old version tries to slip in. It is the moment you are about to react instead of respond. The moment you are about to fall into familiar self-doubt. The moment you are about to lower your standards just to make things more comfortable. If you notice this in time, you keep the connection to the new version. The new timeline is built through the small choices you repeat, not the big breakthrough decisions. If you answer a message from the old frequency, you return to the old frequency. If you handle conflict from the old version, you return to old patterns. If you face a problem from familiar fear, the field understands you still belong to the old timeline. But when you choose even one small action from the new identity, whether it is taking a deeper breath before responding, speaking one sentence slower and more clearly, or setting a boundary gently but firmly, the field understands one thing. Your signal is stabilizing. A timeline is not maintained by excitement. It is maintained by repeating behaviors that match your new essence. You do not need to prove you have changed. You only need to act like someone who has changed. Everything else the field will handle on its own. Living in the new timeline also means you no longer use the outside world to confirm your worth. You do not wait for others to approve before allowing yourself to move forward. You do not wait for evidence before trusting that you have changed. Evidence comes after. The signal always comes first. The world responds to you only when you respond correctly to yourself. This means you need to begin treating yourself as if you already are the version you want to become, not pretending, but living truthfully with your new clarity. If you are the version with a stronger frequency, you will speak to yourself differently. You will make decisions with more simplicity and directness. You will guard your energy as something valuable, instead of letting it drain into small distractions. The new timeline does not require you to change 100 things. It only requires you to remain loyal to a few new principles that truly match you. One of those principles is boundaries. When you change frequency, your boundaries naturally change with it. Things you once tolerated no longer fit. Conversations that once made you shrink no longer appeal to you. Relationships built on depletion no longer hold their place. This is not loss. This is natural adjustment as you step into a truer version of yourself. Life in the new timeline requires you to stay loyal to what keeps your frequency bright and expansive, not what makes you contract and doubt. And when you live aligned with the new frequency, you will notice something strange. You no longer have to try to maintain the timeline. The timeline becomes your natural environment. You feel comfortable speaking your truth. You feel calm, standing steady in front of change. You feel clear in decisions you once avoided. Everything moves softly but deeply, not because life becomes easier, but because you have become the person who fits that frequency. And from here, you will understand something important. Stability does not come from circumstances. Stability comes from knowing exactly who is observing your life from within. When the one observing is the strongest, brightest, widest version of you, everything outside must rearrange to match. This is the essence of timeline alignment. No forcing, no chasing, only standing in the correct position. And life does the rest. As you reach the end of this journey, I want to offer you my most sincere wish. I wish for you and the people you love to be surrounded by peace, by expansion, by the new frequency you are stepping into. I wish your friends and family can feel the positive shift radiating from you, and I wish every next step you take is as clean and clear as the way the field is guiding you now. You have gone further than you think. And from this moment on, the new timeline is no longer just a choice. It has become your home.